screen, it said where it should say chat. I will monitor that. If there's a point that I can break and mark and ask Mark the question, then I will go ahead and do that at that time. Otherwise, we'll be sure to get to all of them at the end. There again, too, if you're not comfortable in coming out in this type of platform and asking questions, you can certainly connect with your manager after today's webinar, and they can certainly help you through navigating this portal as well. This webinar today is being recorded, and we will post it on the website for everyone to look back at and reference in the future. So that will be nice as well. And just again, thank you so much for tuning in today. We really appreciate it. We know your time is valuable. We value you as our client, and we look forward to kind of showing you all of the magical things that this board member portal can do. And so without further ado, here is our master manager magician, Mark Schultz.
Hello, everyone. Thank you again for attending our meeting tonight, our webinar. So I am going to get started right on the very front page. So this is where you will log in, as many of you I'm sure already know. I'm just going to start with a few basics, and then we're going to get to the meat of the portal. So this is at portal.pmcwi.com. That's how you get to this page here, and then you just add your email and password into the fields as shown, which I'm sure you're very familiar with. If you don't remember your password, you can click Forgot Password, or if you're not sure if you're signed up, you can also click Forgot Password. One cool thing is what it'll do is it'll take you to where it asks for your email, and if you type in your email, it's going to send you an email either way. The email is either going to say you are not signed up, which you'll know then you have to go to the sign up button here and just follow the prompts. Otherwise, it'll say, it'll give you the directions to put a new password in for your login. So then once you log into the system as a board member, you'll see something like this where you have your menu over to the left with the regular owner items that every owner will see, the association items every owner will see, and then just the board items here which only board members can see. Laura's going to start you off with the general owner information to quickly overview that, and then I'll get into the board functions after that.
I just wanted to make sure that everyone's doing it. Okay. All right. So this is going to be the dashboard, as Mark said, when you log in. So over to the left, this is, as a board member, this is what you're going to see. So owners, though, just because I know that that question has come up very often, owners, what they're going to see is just these top these first two areas, and then the board and board member, which, like Mark said, he's going to go over again. He's going to go over in more depth after me. Is basically what the board members can see. So first, as an owner, you have the option to go to My Account. That essentially is where you're going to see your ledger for your personal units account, and you have a couple of different options here. You can look at the last 30 days, the last 60 days, year to date, or your full history. You have the ability to download a report. If you've got questions or concerns, of course, work with our accountants. You can submit the request right there through the portal as well. But this is also where you're going to be able to make your payments as well. There again, your request. These are kind of your quick link buttons down at the bottom. And then we'll go to the dashboard. So this is your owner dashboard. It is a little bit different for you as a board member, because it's going to have your board member tasks on it, and then it will also have, though, your personal information. There again, that is not going to show up on all of the owners. Under the My Items, so this is going to be this is going to be for your items that you have called us in about with regards to your specific unit. There again, the community items, with with the association are going to show up down in your board area. George Washington hasn't called anything in recently, so he doesn't have any open action items at this time. And then my contact information. This is an important part, and I know we've had a lot of conversations about this recently because we have enabled the directory feature. So if you do not want your email and your phone number listed, you're going to want to go ahead and click the hide email and hide the phone in the directory, and that will remove that information from showing. If you don't want your contact information, your name out there at all, I would kind of maybe recommend that you're not a board member. You do at least need to publish your name, I think, as a board member. That's important. But there again, you need help or you want to go through any of these options with us, we can certainly help you out with that as well. My login, that's an opportunity. If you'd like to change your password, you can do that at any time. We can change your password for you if you'd like to too, if you're not comfortable doing this. So there again, just let us know if there's something that we can help you with there. If you would like to make an ARC request, Mark will go into that a little bit more when he gets down to his portion on the board member portion. But if you wanted to submit something as an owner for your unit, this is where that you would do that. And there again too, submit a request. This is where that you can submit the request, again, as it relates to your unit. If you've got a question about your ledger, you would like to make a service request, even as board members, you're allowed to make a service request or ask questions as well. So those will be funneled then to the correct individual within our company. Is there any questions or anything that popped up on the chat? Okay, all right, well, so that's kind of my part. As I said in the intro for this, I'm Mark's trusty assistant, so I am going to go back to my assistant role and monitoring the chat feature. And again, if you have any questions throughout this, please type away.
Thanks, Laura. So the board functions down here, I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up, and then we'll go to the association functions last. Because those are a really cool part of this that I would like to finish with, because I really enjoy those 3 sections there. So the board invoice is pretty clear. It's mostly for any board member to see any current open, any closed or past invoices that are sitting in the association's queue. So if you're looking for an old invoice and you're trying to figure out maybe what was paid or when it was paid, you do have the ability to look at all closed invoices by just clicking on the close button and then scrolling down through here. A couple things to really pay attention to is the page numbers on here and the total items here. So a lot of times it only shows 10 items per page to start, but you may have a lot more items in your close. So Presidential Valley, our test association, has a total of 17 invoices over time that have accumulated. One really cool feature is in any of these items where you see this little circle up here, we call a wheel or a cog, you can click on it and save your grid settings. What that means is any changes you make to this grid, you can actually save, so every time you come back to it, it'll be the same. So if you want to look at more than 10 items, you have the ability to look at up to 1,000 invoices at a time. A lot of associations do accumulate a lot of invoices over time. So if you don't want to have to keep scrolling over pages, you can set, say, 50 invoices. So if you have up to 50, they'll all show here. So now it's showing 1 to 17 of 17 items as opposed to just 1 to 10. If I go up to this button here and save my grid settings, it will be like that every time I come on here from now on. It'll show up to 50 invoices. You can also reset it to your user default or system default. So the user default portion is if you're looking at some other categories, so these 3 dots, no matter where you click on any of the 3 dots, they're going to give you the same menu. If you're looking at something here or changing or searching specific invoices, invoice dates, and you want to just go back to your default, you can just go to user default and it'll keep any settings that you had saved without going back to the original system default where it only showed 10 items on one page, for example. So you can sort any column, ascending or descending. You can search any of these columns through here. So like invoice date, you can select a specific date. One really cool thing is if you go to the filter column here, you have a whole bunch of different options of sorting. So it's equal to a specific date or it's after a specific date. So if you're looking for an invoice that only happened in September of this year, for example, you could do after or equal to September 1st. If you're looking something before September, you can do it before or equal to September 1st. Basically, whatever you want your search to include. Each of those filters are specific to that column. So for example, when I'm looking at different steps, my filter contains a specific word, or I can filter it to not contain a specific word, or is equal to. If you do click is equal to, it has to be those exact letters. So if I put like is equal to PAID space, these paid invoices are not going to show up because that space bar is not there in the actual step. So when you do the equals, it's very specific. Otherwise, if you just do contains and I put paid, it'll come right up. So most of the time we are using the contains or do not contain items here to search the filters. As far as the columns go, this is equal upon any column. So any column where you click the 3 dots, the column list here is going to be exactly the same. So right now it's showing these different columns. If I want to add the GL account number, I can put that in there. So then I know exactly which account these invoices are being paid to. You can put the vendor name, service provider, check name. XN is a tracking number that we use in our system if they have a due date scheduled. So there's a lot of different options for these. And you can also export it to Excel, any group that you have here set up. So if you do the parameters where you do invoices from a specific time period and you export that to Excel, it's only going to show the ones that are in your current search parameters.
Sorry, we do have a question from Jim, and I think it's great. He's wondering about where he can bring up the actual invoice.
Oh, yes. So moving on from that, there's these, what this arrow is called here, we call it drilling down. When you click on it, basically what it's doing is it's going to provide more information on that invoice. So it's going to include the GL, any messages related to that general ledger item. So like if the accountant moved it, or if a board member approved it, if the system automatically moved it. Any recent invoices from that vendor will also show up here, so you can make sure that they're not duplicates, which accounting does have a system that the system checks for duplicates as well as the accountant themselves. So in regards to that question, these little paper clips over here are where you would view the attachment. One really easy way to tell if there's an attachment is if it's got a little green paperclip as opposed to this gray one. So all these gray ones, Presidential Valley does not have an actual invoice set up with these invoices, which again, this is just a test system. So I do have some other items that I'm going to be showing you that you'll be able to see what the paperclip attachment looks like. So, but this is where the invoice attachment would be if it had an invoice attached to it. Yes, yes. So again, because this is a test system, it didn't have them set up, but when you're actually looking at your invoices, pretty much every single one of these will be green. I can't really think of an instance in which there wouldn't be an invoice attached to the item. So open would be just invoices that are not paid. It would be anything under manager approval, board approval, or in the period after board approval where it's just sitting waiting to be paid. It'll show you exactly what step it's in here, and it'll be listed as an open item. My items would be specific to yourself. So as a board member, if you're the board invoice approver and you go to my items, it'll show all the ones that are requiring your approval. This little orange menu over here, we call the hamburger menu because it looks like a hamburger, I guess. This is where the board member would actually approve or decline it, and you can send a message directly back to the manager and accountant if you have this feature. So again, the approval process is specific to any boards that have an invoice approver. If the board does not have a specific invoice approver, you would not have this little hamburger menu over here other than to send a message. So it would just say message. It would not say approve or decline. If you would like to be an approver, talk to your manager and they can get you set up right away for that. So that's pretty much it for invoices. This little box up here is if you happen to be a board member or an owner in multiple associations, you could actually switch between your associations there. So moving on to work orders. Anytime an owner submits a service request, it's going to go into the work order category here, and then depending on the step it is, it'll show here. So I did prepare one for board review. Bill Clinton, who lives in Unit 596, asked if he could rent the clubhouse to hold his band practice. So this one actually does have an attachment showing Bill and his band. So we just wanted to give you an idea of what they were going to look like. Any history of that item, again, if you drill down on this arrow over here, it will show you the history. So here's where the green paper clip is. So that shows you that there is an actual attachment to it. So that's why I was able to click this one and see the attachment. Again, because it's under board review, you have this hamburger menu over here. So the work order function is a little different. You message your approval instead of actually clicking approve or deny, because you want to have full board, majority board approval. So in order to do that, you message your approval to the manager, and then when they receive the majority vote, they can move forward on it. So it's just a way to track the board approval, and each board member, when they message their approval, it's going to show up that message here in this menu here. So it would say like George Washington has approved, or whatever comment George Washington decided to make on this item. So that way it's easily trackable, so the manager can make sure they have 3 votes or majority vote depending on how many board members to move forward. Just like the other items, you can move between open, closed, look at any closed service request that's ever occurred. This bottom line down here, again, will show you how many items there are and how many are showing on your page. You can always adapt your settings and save them in this grid setting little wheel over here. And again, you can export it to Excel just like any other category here to get a editable spreadsheet that you can use for this. Moving on next to ARC. So these are architectural variance requests. These are basically when somebody has a modification to their unit they want approved by the board. One thing I just want to touch base on, when Laura showed you the ARC request over here, when people make their actual ARC request, there's this ARC form here. It is set to be the standard form unless each association wants their own specific form. So if you do have a specific architectural variance form, please let your manager know to make sure that it is uploaded onto the system here. So if you click on it, it'll actually go to your form instead of this generic form, if it isn't already set up. Some of them already do have it set up. So this is what the generic form looks like here. So back to the ARC board member action item down here. Again, you'll see any ARC requests, and you'll be able to approve or decline as the chair member of the committee. So I did set George Washington up as the committee chair for the Architectural Variance Committee. That's why he has the ability to approve. Otherwise, you'll still have that ability to send a message regarding if you're another board member or another committee member that doesn't do the approval. So only the ARC chair is the one who actually does the approval for these architectural variances. So again, you have this drill down menu here that will show you all the history. So when I set this up, basically I was setting myself up as this owner, Ronald Reagan, and he said, I would like to change my patio to 3 seasons. Here are the specs, pictures of what will be done, and proof of insurance from my contractor, all but winter enclosures incorporated. So if you look at the attachment that he included, Ronald really knew what he was doing, so he included everything he needed. He's got a picture of the enclosure, looks really nice. He's got a copy of his certificate of insurance from his vendor. He's also got a copy of the contract that he would like to enact with the vendor. So he attached all 3 of those items, so when the board or architectural variance committee is looking at it, they can easily approve it or ask for more information using this message feature here. As stated with everything else, you can look at the open and closed, you can export to Excel, you can change your grid settings, same thing as before. So again, when you're looking at this little 3 dots menu, depending on what type of item you're going through, it will have different options. So with invoices, it had the ability to put the account number or the general ledger number on there. So obviously that's not an option here, but it does give you some other items like a follow-up date or the date it was created, last note time. These ones I really like because it shows you exactly when the most recent note was added to it, so the most recent response basically, or when the original item was created. It also shows that in the drill down menu here, exactly when each was made, when that was responded. So 9/23 at 9:18 p.m., Ronald Reagan submitted his request. So moving on to violations. This will show you any open or closed violations. Right now we have one. It's also about Bill Clinton. There were complaints that you were playing your saxophone late at night, most recently reported on 9/21/2020 at 2:30 a.m. For Bill Clinton in Unit 596. So this was the violation that was sent to him. You can drill down on here and actually see the letter that was sent to him. All board members have the ability to see all the violation letters through this portal. So anytime that prospect management sends out a violation letter, you can actually go into this portal and see it. You can find old letters to see, maybe you think somebody's received a violation, you're not entirely sure. You can go in here and verify if that is the case. This is specific to when Vantaca started for these letters. So any violation letter pre-Vantaca, you will have to ask your manager for a copy of. But so this is the first notice. It's the first time that he's been notified of this violation. And it just says, community associations like the one you live in have the responsibility of maintaining harmony, et cetera, et cetera. Here's the rule. Here's the noise violation. There have been multiple complaints that you're playing your saxophone late at night, mostly recently reported 9/21 at 2:30 a.m. The rules and regulations for this association state no noise is allowed at any time. So he definitely violated that rule. And then it just talks about, remind you that it's a courtesy notice. It tells you how to get a hold of prospect management if you have any questions. It tells you how to view it on the portal. So it's got a lot of really good information on there for the owner who receives the letter to make sure that they understand what the violation is and how to correct it. Moving on to collections, if you have any owners that are past due, it will show them in here. You can review why they're in collections. John Quincy Adams owes $97,000, so he is definitely with the attorney for collections. So when it says new collection 60, so he was sent at 60 days past due. Depending on what your association rules are, you can send them at 30 days past due, 60 days, 90 days past due. Just depends on what your collection system is for your association. You can also look at any closed items, so anybody who was previously in collections or has been removed will show either balance, settled, or void, depending on what the situation was. Homeowner section is really cool. You can view all the homeowners, any account balances for those owners. So as a board member, you can keep track of where your homeowners are at, anybody that's not getting their dues paid, and verify what their, in real time, what their amounts are, what's due, any items related to that owner. So here it shows John Quincy Adams is in collections with the attorney, so which you saw in the collections section as well. It also shows their transactions, so it actually shows their account ledger as well. So it's a lot of really great information here that you can utilize to your advantage. Their address, and then the columns here gives you a ton of different options to look at for your owners. So you can find all their emails, you can find all their phone numbers, their mailing address, their billing address. If there's a second owner, there's a ton of different options. So again, whatever ones you like to see, when you click on those columns and add them, once you click the wheel over here and save your grid settings, it will always show these columns the way that you set them up. So down here, it's showing 1 to 10 of 48 items. If I want to show all 48 owners at once, I can just make sure my parameters extend beyond that. Now all 48 owners on the same page. If I save my grid settings, it'll keep that forever. Otherwise, I can reset to system default if I want to start over, and it'll put it back the way it was when the system was created. You can also export this list to Excel. So if you want to print your own homeowner directory or print your own copy of homeowners with balances, you can do it that way. So for example, if you only want to show the homeowner, their address, and the balance, you can basically remove all the other columns and export it to Excel, just to give you an idea of where these owners are at. You can sort it also. You can either sort ascending or descending here, or if you click on the name itself, it's going to automatically do this. So I'm sorting one way. If I click on balance again, it'll sort it the other way, and then if I click it again, it'll turn the sort off. So if I want to sort the balance from minimum to high and then export it to Excel, it will look something like this. Yes, so the address is the way that it was set up. So just real quick, so here's where it shows all my balances. It shows every to Excel, so it shows the smallest balance to the largest. The negative means that they're $400 ahead of their current dues. So the reason it shows two addresses, the P is for property address and the M is for mailing address. So if you have a different mailing address than your property address, then it will show that here. That's because this is just set on address. If I change the column to property address, it's only going to show the one address. But if you have it just on the regular address, it's going to show your property and your mailing address. So there's a lot of different things you can change here to fit what you're looking for in information. So it's really cool. I definitely suggest going in there and just playing around with it for a while and trying to see what you can do. So lastly is the board action items. This is basically an overview of any items that the board have to act on. So again, as a board member, when you're on your dashboard, it's going to show these action items up here. So you have one invoice to approve, one service request to approve, and one ARC request. That's basically the same thing that it shows here, just in the detail for each item. So you can drill down on each item to see more about it. And then you can also sort between different types of items that you have in your queue. So it'll only show in this menu here whatever you have here. So if I didn't have an invoice to approve, invoice would not be listed here in my all items. It only lists the ones that are currently active. Again, the paperclip is for the attachment. When you drill down on the item, if there is an attachment, it's going to show it in green. So for example, when Bill requested to rent the clubhouse for his band to practice, the manager sent the board a question if they were okay with him renting the clubhouse. And then after he got the board's response, he responded, "Hi, Bill, I checked with the board. They said that would be okay as long as you invite them to listen." Seems reasonable. So that's the really cool part about that. Again, the hamburger menu over here is where you approve, decline, or send a message. You can export it to Excel from here. And if you have multiple properties, it would show them here. So lastly, on the association section, I just want to go over these real quick. The document section is where it'll show any documents for your association. The really cool thing is they can be set to either show board member only or homeowners. So as a board member, you'll have access to a lot of documents that homeowners do not have access to, such as the full financial packet. Those will show up here for you, but if a homeowner were to go here, it will not show the full financials. It'll only show the homeowner financials. If you're not aware, the homeowner financials is an action item that we set up where it will put the income and expense statement and balance sheet on the portal for owners to view once the financials are approved. So this is showing, since there's no arrow here when I click on it, this is showing that no financials have been approved for this association at this point. But just so you're clear, there are a lot of items on here that only the board will be able to see. If you have questions about which items you can see and which items owners can see, check with the manager for your property and they'll be able to tell you. Or if there's any specific items you want on here that you don't see, let that manager know as well, because the manager will be responsible for adding those items onto there. The directory is where it shows the full directory for all associations. So as Laura was talking about earlier, where you go to my contact info and decide what is shown in the directory, here's where it would be shown. As a board member, it's automatically going to show at least your name and your title. You can opt in or out of having your phone number and email showing here depending on what you like your owners to see. So when you're checking that, if you don't want your email, please let your manager know so they can remove it. If there's a committee, it'll show any committee members here. Again, they can opt in or out of having their emails here. So the manager actually sets this part. If you go to my contact info and hide your name, it's still not, or hide your email, it's not going to hide it here. The manager actually has to hide this section for you. But in the homeowner section here, your information will be hidden if you hide it over here. So only the board and committee members are managed by your manager as far as this information here. The homeowner list is managed individually by each homeowner. And lastly is the calendar and events. This one is really cool. This is one of my favorite parts of the portal, actually, where you can look at anything going on in your calendar for the month. So any board member has the access to add items to this calendar. The manager can do it, homeowner services can do it, our support staff can do it, and so can the board members. So all you have to do is double click on whatever date you're looking to put something in. So let's try to do a future event. So we're looking in October, and I know the board member has a special event this day. It's titled Mark's birthday. The board really is excited about that. So they're going to make it an all-day event, and it's going to be party, party, party. A bunch of exclamation points.
With masks.
Masks required. And you can set the security. So you can set it if only boards can see it. You can set it if homeowners can see it, or if everyone can see it. The everyone feature doesn't really have any effect at this point. If outsiders are ever able to access your portal, which they currently can't, that would be what the everyone feature is for. Right now, the homeowner is the lowest security option available. So if you click everyone or homeowners, it's only going to be homeowners, boards, and internal that can see it. So when you click homeowners, then you can also set a category. We have some selected categories. So now you're showing that there's a community event on October 13th for my birthday, in which if any owner looks at it, it's party, 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 mask required. So that is essentially the portal. So at this point, I would like to see if there are any questions. If we don't have any in the...
I have one.
Okay.
Sue asks, if owner sent in a request through PMC's email, does someone from PMC input the request into Vantaca's ARC request?
If it is an architectural variance request, then yes. If somebody sends in an architectural variance request that's not listed as an architectural variance, so they didn't send it in as an ARC request, they just submitted a request or sent an email to homeowner services, either homeowner services or the manager will switch it over to an ARC request so it can show up in the board's action item queue, which would be down here.
Maybe we could talk a little bit about how people email homeowner services that it automatically comes into our system now.
Sure.
If they didn't know, I mean,
Yeah, so the homeowner services email that everybody's been using for the history of my existence, at least here, I think the majority of the existence of PMC, it is set up since we've been using Vantaca that all items are input into Vantaca when you use that email. So it automatically creates an action item for that homeowner just by emailing homeownerservices@pmcwi.com. That way, homeowner services or the manager can act on it as soon as possible and make sure we get the answers to the association or the homeowner as needed. So there are multiple different ways you can submit your request. You can send an email directly to homeowner services. You can submit a request through one of these three options: billing question, service or maintenance request, or general question, or you can do the ARC request. All of those are going to come into our Vantaca system and be documented and recorded for future use or review as needed and for addressing the issue. Does that answer?
yeah, and then Jim just thanked us, and I think we could just thank everyone again for coming today. And
yeah, we can't do it without you guys. So
yes, oh, and
we
so
are.
I did get another question about, yes, all phone calls, as always, are recorded, are noted in Vantaca, and those will, we then manually create itinerary.
Yeah, I apologize. I forgot to mention that the phone calls also are action items as well. So not only can you email homeowner services, put in a request through the portal, you can also make a phone call to our office just like before, and those will be added in as action items as well for the association or for the owner that's calling.